Hello, and welcome to Totally Schway Flipside, a podcast about whatever the hell I want it to be about. My name is Mary.
My name is Luke.
And today, I'm going to get straight into it. This is take 2, by the way. But I'm going to get straight into it and talk about the man, the myth, the legend, our ally king, Sir Patrick Stewart. And I've actually written something.
Which is unusual, because we don't usually prepare for these podcasts, which I think is part of the fun. Because you don't know what we're going to say, and neither do we.
So I've written down, like, the 3 main things in terms of, like, movies and whatever that I watched, Pat Stew in. But I also wrote something. Just bear with me. In a time where we were discovering the effects of the AIDS epidemic, home media was becoming really, really easy to get because of VHS and Laserdisc, if anybody remembers that. It was so easy to get your hands on them. And this time, we were introduced to one of, in my opinion, the most vocal allies of our nerdy times. That man is who we're going to talk about today, is Sir Patrick Stewart. Or Patrick Stewart back then, because, he hadn't been knighted yet. Which he should have been.
When was he knighted?
I cannot remember. But he should have been knighted at birth, because I think he just exudes everything that is great in the world. Okay, so this is a guy who was a theater kid who became my favorite professor. I was introduced to Patrick Stewart's acting when my stepdad would watch Star Trek at like 7 p.m. because I don't know if it's because he had recorded it then or that's just what time it came on, but yeah, 7 p.m. When he would get off work and that. Can't say that I'm a huge fan of Star Trek, but that is, when I think of Star Trek, that is what I think of. Earl Grey tea, Data, LeVar Burton.
Make it so, etc.
Yeah, make it so. And then, I believe the year was 1999. I was introduced to the live action Charles Xavier. And that is when my life was changed. And I was introduced to our ally king, Sir Patrick Stewart. And when I started to look him up, when I was much younger, one of the things that really got me was the way that he just did not care if people were going to judge him for being an ally or judge him about talking about, being in a movie. There's a movie called Jeffrey, and I could not remember this movie for the life of me. And then I watched the trailer for it again yesterday. And I was like, oh my God, I've seen this movie like so many times. It's I would say like a kind of like a dramedy, if you will, about a man that goes celibate, a gay man that goes celibate. And then he is going through all of these funny, things. And he meets someone that happens to be HIV positive. And it's a whole story, and Patrick Stewart plays a gay man in this. And oh my God, his theater experience comes out. And yes. I freaking love it. But it wasn't until yesterday that I had remembered, because I was like, Jeffrey, that sounds familiar. What looked familiar was the writing, because it has the same thing as this movie called Trick, which is very similar but different type of movie. But oh my God, it was so funny. Just in the trailer itself, Patrick Stewart steals the show. And I think he's like third bill. But it's like, Yeah, you were a theater kid. I wouldn't have to know anything about you, but you were a theater kid.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say theatre kid, he's theatre man.
I know, but I think he started out like in school and stuff with the theater experience, and
Yes, yeah.
you can really tell, even in his American Dad stuff, you can definitely hear that, and in his voice, the way that he speaks, the way that he actually treats each character, no matter how small the role is. It's like someone that is in theater, because you have to give your all so the audience can hear you. You can't just go, yes, I'm Avery Bullock, and no. No, I am Avery Bullock. Or,
Projects his voice.
Yeah, very much like Ian McKellen. And wow, it's simply, I cannot say enough great things about Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart. And you know what's the greatest thing about it is they've acted together in theater. They've acted together in, I think it's called No Man's Land, it was called.
The play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I could not get tickets to. Might be bitter about that, but hey. And it's so great to see these beautiful British actors that are, again, it's that thing where it's like they're very similar, but also very different. But their bond, it's so significant. It really is, because it shows that being an ally, you don't have to hide that. Because Patrick Stewart I cannot remember a time where he has spoken about the QIA plus, and kind of like quieten, a bit quiet in his voice. No, it's always like, yes, and it's in a time that we grew up, it was so like, people would call each other the gay word as an insult.
Mm-hmm.
And having, Jean-Luc Picard actually play like a gay character and kind of be proud of it, and actually not, say, oh, it was just for the money. No, I saw you in that movie. You love that movie. It felt really nice to have actors starting to talk about it more. And then you get to the early 2000s when they start, taking it back a little bit. But Patrick Stewart never did that. I don't think he was as, like poster boy ally, but sometimes that's okay to just be an ally, but to never dim that light of being an ally. And it's incredible. Now, to change it up a little bit, what was the first thing that you can remember seeing Patrick Stewart?
A magazine cover.
Really?
Yeah, because my dad is very much into Star Trek and Star Wars, and he used to get like a sci-fi magazine every month. I think he had it on subscription. I think it came in the post. I've got vague recollections of it coming through the letterbox, being quite excited.
Was the time, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. It had a very distinctive smell, that magazine, as well, and I can remember it. You know how you can kind of like sense a smell without it ever being there, but I can remember it very clearly now. And one of the things I liked about that magazine is that while it was like predominantly a sci-fi magazine about Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, etc., it had stuff about Batman the Animated Series in there as well. It had an episode guide in one issue, and I remember sitting down and reading through that, going, I've not seen that one, not seen that one, not seen that one.
He probably still has those somewhere.
Do you know what? I think he actually got rid of them about 15 years ago. I think he did.
To make room for me?
No. No, he was just having like a general declutter. Got rid of a lot of stuff then, actually, but then it doesn't really matter. But that was the first thing I can remember seeing him on, because he was obviously on the cover. When I was a child, that's when Star Trek The Next Generation started, so that was kind of like a big deal. It's the first new Star Trek show since the original one, or the cartoon, I suppose, as well. We'd watch it. I remember it used to be on at 6 o'clock on BBC Two. And for those that didn't grow up in Weekdays.
Weekdays.
Yeah, weekdays. For those that didn't grow up in the UK, you would know that children's TV programming ended, I think, around sort of 5:30.
And then you'd have like the news, wouldn't
yes,
you? And then
right. Yeah.
very similar over
you'd
there.
watch like CITV or the BBC One kid shows. Then when they finish, you switch over to BBC Two and watch either an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air followed by Star Trek.
Oh my goodness, that is exactly what it was. Like Fresh Prince, and then because they would have to go light first to in case kids were still watching, and then they go to the aliens.
Yeah. So that's the first thing I remember him in. To be honest, I didn't love Star Trek: The Next Generation. I mean, I don't dislike Star Trek. I still watch some of it. I watched all of Picard, by the way. I know you only watched the first 2 seasons. But it's not something that stays with me. But it's got like the right message.
I only watched the first season.
Did you only watch the first season? Were there 2 seasons or were there 3?
I don't remember.
I'm not certain
my
now.
neurodivergent mind is like, woo!
Maybe there were only 2 seasons and you only watched the first one.
Yeah. Very similar. I was introduced to Patrick Stewart through Star Wars.
Star Wars?
Not Star Wars. I did this the other day, too, when I was, like, thinking about it.
Fake fan. Get out.
Star Trek. But also, can I be clear here? And I said this earlier. I'm not the biggest fan of Star Wars or Star Trek. To the point that I got married at the age of 21 years old in the year of 2010. My husband, a couple of weeks after our wedding, I had asked him a question about Star Trek, because I think I'd watched X-Men or something, because I often do that, because that's one of the X-Men movies, the first 2 anywhere, comfort films for me. But I had asked you a question about Star Trek.
Trek?
Do you remember me talking about this?
You just said Star Trek.
No, that's the thing. Because that is exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Because we were looking at the DVDs in your mom and dad's room, and I was like, oh, does he have the Star Trek generation over there as well? And you looked at me like you're looking now, and you were like, Star Trek. I'm like, I said Star Trek. And and it's like you see something your entire life. Like, I knew it was Trek. Like, I knew it was spelled Trek, all of that. But for 21 years... or as long as since I had first seen Star Trek, I would say Star Trek. And I just remember the look on your face. You were like, what?
Yeah.
Can we go back?
Yeah.
But I thought that was really funny because a lot of the things I remember from Generation is just the actors, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, what a sublime cast of characters and actors, like, just amazing.
Yes.
And then the main thing was, in the internet age that started, X-Men.
Yes.
Because I was a cinema goer. Like, I went to the movies quite a bit because it was one of the only things that really kind of made me happy, that I enjoyed. And I would go by myself. I would go with my uncle, my mom and my stepdad sometimes. But with this movie, I didn't just because I liked the TV show, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. And then it's got that guy in it. That one guy that I had seen posters with some of Ian McKellen's movies, but I wasn't quite versed in who he was as a person just yet. And then I was like, oh, and that's Patrick Stewart. Literally, I was like, this guy's in it, this guy's in it, this guy's in it. Don't know who that is. Patrick Stewart. And
so that was the draw.
Yeah, and then after that, I'm not even kidding. It was probably that night I went into my grandma's room, which that was like the only computer, like her little office thing. And I looked up some of the cast, and it was like GeoCities websites, by the way, not like Google.
Little midis in the background.
Yeah.
Played when you opened the website. Yeah. Comic Sans font.
shut the front door, probably.
Bright neon
Yeah.
backgrounds, little glittery
Yeah,
emojis.
stars in the background, stuff like
Sorry,
that.
not emojis. Emojis didn't exist then. It was little animated
Emoticons,
emoticons. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, but I think I became a fan of his and Ian McKellen's probably that night, and I don't think it stopped because when you look up people like Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, some of the most interesting people, not just their career, but them as people and the amount of things that they've done for charity, for um, you know, so many different things. Like there's not just one thing that comes to mind because they're such giving people. They give with their art. And they give with their time. And I've always found that really interesting because you see a lot of celebrities, especially around the time, that the internet was really easily available. Um, that were just so obsessed with, getting their picture in a magazine, like a tabloid magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd have people like Sir Patrick Stewart. When I saw him in magazines, I saw him and I read things about his movies, about his art, and all of that. I can't really remember seeing like trashy paparazzi photos. I mean, I'm sure there are. I'm sure there might be, but it was always purposeful why he would be in a magazine. And I liked that. Like I said, in a world where there's nothing wrong with Paris Hilton or I can't really think of anyone else. I quite like Paris Hilton because she's, come a long way, but she must call paparazzi on herself. I don't think Sir Patrick Stewart would.
Mm.
I could be wrong, but yeah. Um, so it was really entertaining in the best way possible. So trash TV, like I say trash TV, reality TV started to come. Like every show that came out that was brand new was just reality TV. And I remember turning over to like IFC or TCM and stuff like that and hear people reference um like obviously movies of today with movies of yesterday. And a lot of the times you would hear Patrick Stewart's name. And I'm like, he is, in X-Men. And people are saying, like, putting him in the same vein as Humphrey Bogart.
Mm.
Like, how absolutely amazing is that?
Are you saying you don't think that someone like Humphrey Bogart would have appeared in a Marvel movie if they were being made in that
That's
era?
what I'm saying. I'm not saying anything about Marvel movies. What I'm saying is it was a popular movie at the time because that was one of the most popular movies at that time. There wasn't anything about like whatever. I was just saying like the X-Men movie as in like that's the popularity of it.
Well, I'd argue that the movies that Humphrey Bogart was in were often adaptations of popular novels.
Yeah.
So it's they're on a similar vein, like similar level to say comic book adaptations of now because nobody likes to read anymore. We've got to have pictures.
And I think that's because I've always been a fan of classic movies. It's been my preference. I get to basically rediscover old movies all over again because you'll hear them, or at the time like Robert Osborne would reference people and what would happen would be like, oh, I'm gonna find a way to watch that because at the time you couldn't just go like
Netflix.
download it, and I would be like, okay, I'm watching Maltese Falcon again. Like, oh my god, this is what they were talking about. I did not even notice this referenced in this movie, and this movie is that. And it's like you're realizing a whole different movie just because of someone like Patrick Stewart or, Robert Osborne talking about, them, which is awesome. I think, anyway.
I agree.
I don't watch as many classic movies as I used to nowadays because I feel that I don't want to tire of my favorite movies. So I try not to watch them as much as I used to, and that sucks, but whatever. Just means I can start watching more Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart movies now.
Mm.
But yeah, one of the most interesting things about Patrick Stewart is his theater career.
Mm-hmm.
It is vast. It is wonderful. It is, I mean, come on, he was knighted.
yeah, and the thing is, he, I suppose before Star Trek: The Next Generation, he did a lot of like guest roles and like BBC adaptations of Shakespeare.
Yes,
in a lot
and
of.
was he Macbeth?
I think it was Julius Caesar. He's probably done a Macbeth.
Yeah.
He's bound. No, he has done a Macbeth. I know he has done a Macbeth. Yeah, but pre 1980s.
Yeah.
It was like Julius Caesar. There was another one that is now evading me off the top of my head.
Oh, let's not forget that he has another thing in common with our other favorite person, Ian McKellen. He was on Coronation Street. I think he was on one episode of Coronation Street, maybe two.
Yeah.
But because I don't know a lot about Coronation Street. I just saw that on his IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm surprised he wasn't in the bill.
I mean, they also have something in common with Snoop Dogg. Was he actually in Coronation Street, or was it EastEnders?
I think he was in Coronation Street, yeah. Which is just random.
Maybe I should just watch that show.
Maybe you should. Maybe you'd love it.
I probably would.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's probably not my sort of thing, but...
Yeah, I can just see Snoop Dogg, like, sending a letter to like, to Tony Blair, going, look, you've got to get Deirdre Barlow out of prison. She didn't do nothing.
She didn't do anything, man.
Yeah. That actually sounded very much like him. Well done.
I've been listening to a lot of 90s hip-hop recently.
Maybe he could have released a charity album to free Deirdre Barlow. Oh my gosh. You don't know who Deirdre Barlow is. That's a character from Coronation.
I figured as much.
So one of her storylines in like the honestly late 90s, she got sent to prison unjustly. So much so that people started like a petition, and they started writing in to like their MPs saying, you've got to do something to free Deirdre. It's not fair.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah.
I think AMP actually did bring it up in Parliament, saying one of my constituents, Deirdre Barlow, has been sent to prison.
Like, what is going on?
There's no evidence that she took part in it. She was. Yeah. It's a frame up.
Oh, did they actually like play along with it or something?
No, I think he just didn't realise.
Okay. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. Anyway.
The next episode of Flipside.
Yeah, Deirdre Barlow.
We'll have more views on that than like if we did one on crypto.
Yeah.
Or Streaky the cat.
Yeah.
I think we did.
Sad.
We did do with the pets, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
One of our
did okay actually. That did okay.
Yeah. Back to Patrick Stewart, Sir Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
I have not met him yet.
No.
I don't know if I will. He doesn't do a hell of a lot over here anymore, does he? He's too busy doing Picard.
No, I don't think he's too busy doing Picard.
No?
No, I don't think so. He still lives over here.
Maybe he just doesn't accept my phone calls.
Yeah, he sees you and he goes, ooh.
Courier pigeons, direct messages. I was going to say DMs. I'm like, no, I'm a millennial. I'm going to say direct messages.
That's what DM stands for.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I've never done any of that.
No.
Yeah, I want to see him on stage.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that if I get the chance to do it, I'm definitely going to, because when because a lot of stuff is on YouTube, and some of his older stuff is on YouTube as well. It really takes you to a place that is just exactly where you're supposed to be. Especially when he is on stage with like a group of people, and like you kind of see them reacting to what he's doing, and I just love that. And yeah, I think he is one of the actors that, they say don't meet your idols.
Yes.
We talked about who said that before. I think like Sid Vicious had said something like that on a chat show once, but obviously it's a phrase that was before his time as well. But I think the two people that we've talked about, this pride, definitely very happy I got to meet at least one of them because exceptional human beings.
So, all right, out of all of the things you've seen with Sir Pat Stew,
you know what I'm going to say.
Which one is your favourite?
X-Men 2.
X-Men 2, interesting. While he does have a significant role in the film, it's like the whole scheme around killing all the mutants with Cerebro needs his powers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he spends a lot of the film kind of incapacitated. But there was a really great scene in that where Professor X is taken to visit Magneto in his plastic prison.
Yep.
Cyclops with him wearing his like all black leathers. And they kidnap Professor X.
Yeah.
And you can see like the plastic drawbridge kind of pulling back, and he's helpless in his wheelchair, plastic wheelchair as well.
Yeah.
Banging on the glass going, Scott! And, you know, they actually did a good job of making Cyclops seem cool in that film because he was beating the crap out of the security guards.
Yeah. But it's even just in that scene, you see how much of an expert in acting he is.
Yeah.
Because with that, he had to use his entire body, even though
yes,
he was in a wheelchair.
Yes.
You still saw an entire performance.
Yeah, I agree.
I loved that.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, of the X-Men films, I like Days of Future Past as well. X-Men 2 is excellent. Days of Future Past is really good as well.
Yeah, I really like that one. I still have a popcorn bucket from that, don't I?
Yes, we do in there somewhere. The scene where Magneto gets killed, I'm like, oh no, my heart, I can't take it. Because, you know, the Sentinels are attacking their base. I want to describe it for the people that are listening.
I know what you're talking about.
The Sentinels are attacking their stronghold. They're trying to hold off for as long as they can. I think Storm got killed, didn't she? And Magneto's like, right, leave these bitches to me.
It's my time.
Yes, and he's like destroying their ships and so on. But he ends up getting like impaled by a bit of shrapnel. And just that look.
Which is kind of odd. That it's a piece of it was a piece of metal, wasn't it?
It was a very sharp piece of metal.
Yeah,
yes.
But he didn't stop it.
He stopped. Well, it's because there was a lot of it. He stopped as much as he could.
Quite kind of ironic a little bit.
Yes. But he had this kind of quiet resignation on his face, like, oh damn.
Yeah, I tried.
I mean that wasn't the moment where he died though, because they what was it? Somebody reached through and pulled him in. I think was it Blink, or was Blink dead by that point? I forget.
Remember, but yeah,
we haven't watched it in ages. But they're holding off with the trying to hold the Sentinels off until they can complete the mission in the past. Which I don't know. I don't know if that's how time travel really works. Because if someone goes back in time and changes something, surely the change should kick in instantly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But what is your favorite?
Logan, I think.
Oh God, I cannot watch that. So
yeah.
I'm going to preface this a little bit before we talk about this. Logan came out at a very sad time in our lives, especially for Luke around this time of year, because the first part of the year, we lost someone in Luke's family, and then the second part of the year we lost someone in my family. So when we were watching this, we had lost Luke's grandma, who was one of the loveliest people in the entire world. And I remember I just could not stop crying when I was watching the cinema.
Yes, if I remember rightly, she had just died when I went to see it, and we thought, we'll go watch this film. This will lift our spirits.
Up, yeah.
Oh no, what a mistake that was.
I just couldn't, because I was like, I couldn't actually see because I was tearing up so much. And I'm the type of person that at a cinema, I'll shed a tear. It's at home when I'm really like, I'm gonna sob, cry, and snot everywhere. But I was in the middle of the theater, and I was just like, I can't take this.
Yeah.
It was so sad.
The main thing as well, though, is that in this film, it's in the far future. Professor X is near the end of his life, and he's basically got dementia.
He was wonderful.
And he can't control his powers anymore, and he keeps killing people with his psychic powers. They've got some medicine that kind of inhibits his powers, and he kind of has moments of clarity, but he's just kind of all over the place. And it very much reminded me of my grandfather, who we learned later on had dementia as well. And he'd had it for a long time. It hadn't, I mean, they never really formally diagnosed it because he wouldn't stay still in the MRI machine. But the doctor said they were fairly certain that that's what he'd been suffering from.
Yeah.
And I mean, Patrick Stewart's family are all from Yorkshire. My granddad's family were from Yorkshire as well. He still had the accent, even though I'm pretty certain he was born down our way.
You can get me like I know.
I know, you don't know. You wouldn't know.
Is this on Ancestry.co.uk?
Yeah. No, I'm pretty certain. But he kept the accent because it was his family's accent.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, there's that connection there as well. And they were similar ages. Kind of looked a little similar as well. Not like massively, but...
The lack of follicles.
Yeah, lack of hair, same kind of old man eyes. Yeah, so that's another reason.
Jolly.
Yeah, I suppose so.
At times, not all of the time.
No, not all the time. Particularly not after my grandmother died. No.
No.
It's very sad watching him decline.
Yeah.
Slowly fade away. Took him a couple of years before he passed away as well.
And when that film came out, it was literally the beginning of the end, really. But
yeah,
it was such a striking movie. Because again, I'm the type of person that doesn't really watch. I will watch one trailer for something, and I will decide if I'm going to watch it or not with that. That I've been like that for as long as I can remember. And I was like that. The trailer that I watched liked me.
Well, I was going to say, yeah. I mean, they kind of build it as a more grounded story, and I suppose in a way it was. But it still had a lot of like the big action scenes and the sci-fi stuff as well.
Yeah, but apparently it just doesn't matter though, does it? Because that doesn't actually exist in the timeline anymore.
Oh, I think it does still. You remember because at Deadpool Wolverine he dug up Wolverine's
it's just
corpse.
like the whole story just doesn't matter anymore. I mean, I don't care.
It matters as much as any story does.
But it was such the acting in that you wouldn't think this was a comic book movie.
I would think it is because I am well versed in what comics can be and what comics are like.
And what I'm talking about is like if you had no idea about the actual backstory of the comics or you've never read any of the comics and you'd only seen the TV show, right?
Yeah.
And the movies.
Yeah.
You would be like, wow. I think it would change a lot. It probably did change a lot of people's minds about what a comic book movie could be.
Yeah, probably.
And I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really good.
Better than X1 or X2? There was more Pat Stewart in that, so.
And he did a swear.
He did. He said the F word, didn't he?
He did at least once.
I was so happy, though. I think that was the moment I became jolly for a few seconds. And then, I'm not kidding you, I think, like, within, 5 minutes, it's like, unbreak my heart. So, yeah.
And you love American Dad as well, don't you?
Yeah, I was going to mention that. There are 3 main things in this life that that made me aware of who Patrick Stewart is or ain't. I can't speak. Whatever.
Perfect.
Yeah. I think I just glitched. I can't even blame it on the editing thing. Star Trek Generation. The Next Generation. I always call it Generation.
That's the movie.
Yeah, I know.
Well, Generations.
Yeah.
Anyway.
X-Men, American Dad. The reason I say American Dad is because recently, it has been my comfort thing. I've watched it. I think I've mentioned this a lot. Last year and the year before that, I had a really awful time at my old job. And when I would come home, I would just, look forward to trying to go to sleep. And right before I'd go, or at least try to go to sleep, I watch Family Guy or American Dad because it's something that's familiar and it just, you know what's going to happen. And hearing a lot of familiar voices, especially with Patrick Stewart Sir Patrick Stewart being in American Dad, it was so comforting, and a time that I needed a lot of comfort, and a lot of not swearing at the wall to be like, stop doing this. And I've kept doing it. Like I've started it over and over and over again just because I really like it, and I love hearing. Like, I wish they just did Avery.
Just did a whole episode that was only him.
I mean, no, just
whole
the whole
series.
series. Even if it was just one.
Do you not think it might wear a little bit thin? Like, the reason why I like Principal Lewis so much in that show is because he's not in every episode.
Yeah.
And they use him sparingly.
Yeah.
And
but it's always brilliant when they use him or Avery.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think maybe it would be too much. But I find that there were times in my life, and I didn't realize this until I started writing this little thing yesterday, that I have felt comfort by our ally king, Sir Patrick Stewart. X-Men has the movies have been comforts to me, especially the first two. And then American Dad. Just because it's a familiar voice, and wait, there are all familiar voices in that, and it's comforting and you feel safe watching it. And I know when I am watching X-Men, my professor is not going to let anybody get me. Boots down the house, okay? He's going to be like, excuse me, I'm going to stop you there. Time stop. I'm going to tell you what to do, and untime stop. Oh, hey, you want to paint her nails? Okay. Let's do this. I've thought a lot about this. So,
do you think it would be funny if they did some dubs of like Avery Bullock's dialogue over Professor X?
I'm sure they have done that.
I'm sure they have done. It would be very funny.
That would become a new comfort thing. Like, that's all I would watch.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I would love that. If anybody has ever seen that, just like leave it down in the comments. Like, just tell me.
Yeah. Put it on the end of your comment and everyone watch them.
This to be a thing.
So
I think we can end it on that and go to the comments, don't you?
Yeah, I think we
do.
can.
You have any ending things? I guess like the last thing I should say is I'm so grateful for Patrick Stewart. I am very grateful for Ian McKellen as well.
Mm-hmm.
But with Patrick Stewart, it's a little bit different because I don't know if anybody has seen my Instagram, but it says I go by the teachings of Professor Charles Xavier, because I think you came up with that.
I mean, that's what... Oh my God. So the origins of that are people that go, oh, you're a straight white guy, why do you accept gay people or people of colour? I'm like, because because I'm not a dickhead.
Yeah.
I follow the teachings of Professor Charles Xavier. I watch that show religiously. I completely understand exactly what he said.
Yeah.
And I apply it to my everyday life.
Oh my God, that gets me real hard because on IMDb, they used to have, I don't know if they still have it, but they had these forums that you could post just about anything on. And I loved IMDb. I've always loved the trivia aspect of it. But I would also look in these forums. I only ever posted on the Apocalypse Now one.
Mm-hmm.
But I would read these things about the X-Men movies and the X-Men cartoons. And back then, like 2005, 2006, 2007, they didn't really have a lot of moderation on there.
No.
Or as to extreme as it is now. And oh my God, the amount of people that would just insult somebody for playing a gay character. They would be like, oh, those characters would never do that. And I'm like, I always wanted to just put on there, like, you obviously have never watched the cartoon.
Yeah.
And the stuff that it's based on. I sounded like my cousin then, like, never.
Never.
And it boggles my mind that people that watch things like X-Men, especially around like 99 and all of that, it was just so painful to look on the internet or anything like that because they were so awful. And they were, what is wrong with there being people of color characters.
I know.
What is wrong with having a non-heterosexual person in a television show or movie?
So, listen. Jack Kirby, one of the co-creators of the X-Men, admittedly it's the early version where the racial allegory was not quite as obvious, although they did make reference to it clearly, is like the king of woke. Like, people called him a hippie back in the day, even though he's not a hippie. He was not a hippie. But he was very much in favour of treating people fairly, regardless of their background, of being respectful towards people, for caring for other people. And that was really this isn't the Jack Kirby podcast, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But I had someone, so I shared some news about there being a Mr. Miracle cartoon being in development, and I had a very foolish comment that I restrained myself and was very polite.
Put me in a bad mood one day and show me that comment.
It's like, I'm not going to watch this if they make it woke. And I was like, my friend.
That's Mr. Miracle.
Jack Kirby was the king of woke.
Yeah.
Everything he did was woke. Okay? If you are upset by that, you are in the wrong place.
Yeah, because things like X-Men, I think, I don't know if this is one of the reasons why Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen did it, but I would not be surprised if one of the reasons was because of the storylines in the X-Men comics and how striking and powerful those were in terms of what they did for our society.
So Bryan Singer said that he sold Ian McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart, and I guess all the cast on it, by telling them that it was an allegory for homosexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Which it is, but it's not exclusively that. It's an allegory for any kind of other. Be that nationality, ethnicity, sexuality, as he said. It's also an allegory for like the generational divide as well.
And it's the thing is, I heard in an interview, because I don't know which interview you're on about, but they did so many, and the word that gets my mind is they were saying that it was about the undesirables.
Yeah.
And that always stuck with me. And I can't remember what cast member or creator of it said, because it was like on the TV Guide channel or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the undesirables. And I'm like, that's such an awful word to say about a person.
Yeah.
But it's true. It is so true.
Yes, that word is often associated with like criminality.
Yeah.
Like an undesirable person would have been, like a thief or something.
Yeah.
But then other types of people.
Ugly.
Well, yeah, I suppose, yeah. But then, anyone who was other was kind of swept up in that term, which is, as you said, not
awful.
Not on.
Because in my opinion, I think when you say ugly, you're talking about like the worst of the worst, like people that have done like really nasty things, not how somebody looks or how somebody was born or whatever. But I feel that the people that made, these shows and this movie, they stood up to something. And I spoke a little bit about it earlier. They stood up to something in a time where it was okay to call somebody the G word and the R word, as in the RE word, just because you wanted to insult them.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I think I was in like the 7th grade, so I must have been like 12, 13 years old. Somebody, like my grandpa picked me up, because obviously I wasn't able to drive, and I wasn't going to walk my ass home 2 miles at that point. Literally, he heard somebody call me gay. And I said, oh, whoa! Something like that. Because, I've always been a fan of RuPaul. And I was like, so what? And I remember saying something like that. And my grandpa, that day, by the way, it wasn't really 2 miles. It was literally like a 2-minute walk. He still picked me up. On the way back on that 2-minute drive or walk or whatever, he was like, No, that's good what you said back there. I was like, you think I'm gay? Do you think I'm gay? And it wasn't the fact that I had made it a joke. It was the fact that I did not care. Like, I didn't let that word be an insult. And a large part has to do with things like X-Men and Batman and comic books and, TV shows and stuff like that. Because you had people like Patrick Stewart who played a gay character in Jeffrey, and you had someone that was open like Ian McKellen. And you're like, well, they're proud to be who they are. You have somebody that's like proud of his acting abilities and being able to act this character out. And then you have this openly gay man that has no qualms about talking about the LGBT. None at all. He's very open about it. Stands up to people. Why would I have a problem with, being that? And I kind of already knew what my sexuality was at the time, but nobody else needed to know. And if somebody suspected I was gay, again, those words, so what, or whatever. I was like, can you just go back to calling me fat? But yeah, sorry, I went on a little tangent there.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, let's
get off our high horse and maybe read some comments, yeah?
If you would like.
Yeah, let's do it. So the first comment is from Lowell Lucas Jr., who says, "Fare thee well today, it's totally Schway. Fly, you fools, for a wizard will save the day. Never trust an elf on Hobbit holidays."
Truth.
Yeah, so this is in reference to our last episode that was about Ian McKellen.
Yes.
Hello, everyone, and a fine how do you do? I'm recovering, but still hopeful things are getting better. Never give in to despair when there's so much more to look forward to. I also wanted to share some great news that I'm getting work published in an anthology comic. It'll be 4 pages, but released every couple of months. I'm so excited. What are the details? Let us know.
Exactly. And by the way, only 4 pages?
Yeah.
Don't you dare. Like, I've never had anything published.
4 more pages than me.
That is such a lovely, exciting thing. I needed to cough. Sorry.
To answer the mystery of Tolkien's writing, The Hobbit was in the 1930s, but in 1954 was the release of The Lord of the Rings. As you all know, I'm obsessed with Rankin Bass's version of The Hobbit and Return of the King, and I'll always recommend them to any fan of Tolkien lore, with a fan emoji. There is material. Yeah, it's a fan.
Though.
But it's also like swishing your face, like getting hot under the collar. Anyway. There is material that is covered that the movie simply couldn't fit in, which can be quite the shame, but hey, nobody's perfect. Now on to Ian McFriggin-Kellen. The man is delightful, inspiring, witty, charming, and just a great rogue to warm your halls with great wisdom and powerful deliveries. Didn't know he worked for Uber. Ba-boom. Whether it be a wizard, a master of magnetism, or someone scoffing at someone's table manners, he would always bring joy and a smile to anyone's face. His acting and drive into character is very inspirational, and I feel he has helped people grow to be better people.
Word.
Also, happy belated birthday, Mary. Let me know.
Guys, please. I was just making a joke about my I don't like being.
Well,
I don't like it.
Can I finish what you were saying? You were saying something nice.
Oh.
Let me know who your favourite DCAU gal is, and I'll work my artistic magic to give them life. I'm no Dan Reba, but Neil Adams did say I got talent. Oh, that's great. That's great. Take care, everyone, and may you all have a great travel to defeat the great evils of Mordor. Also, Sir Patrick Stewart is coming for you. Looking forward to it, Team Schway. So, favourite DCAU lady? I know who it is.
Obviously.
I was trying to think of a joke. It's Maggie from Eternal Youth.
Oh my god, she is one of my faves, but it's probably Wonder Woman or Harley.
Yeah. So your choice, Lowell Lucas Jr., Wonder Woman or Harley?
Or Maggie.
Or Maggie. Yeah,
I would get a tattoo of Maggie, and if people were like, oh, who is that? I'm like, that's my butler's girlfriend.
Yeah, and it would have the caption saying, hello, love.
Like yeah.
That.
I'd be like, it's my butler's
hello,
girlfriend.
Love. That's cultural appropriation, Maggie. It is. Right.
What's wrong with my throat?
I don't know, you're just choking on a laugh. Can I continue with Big Mikey P's comment?
Big Mikey P's comment?
Yeah, Big Mikey P's comment next.
Okay. I'm ready.
Nice rainbow where Ian has got there. Also, not using the auto dubs, those artificial intelligence, virtual intelligence are still woeful. Did I even say intelligence is right then? I don't think I did. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean. The places they deem queerness as taboo may risk becoming craters someday. Don't know. Interesting. When it comes to Luke saying that the British North is the farmlands, I'm suddenly remembering that Laura Doone is set on the farmlands of southwest England, and yet Tess of the D'Urbervilles is the northern farmlands. I should clarify that most of the UK has got big patches of farmlands. Like, I'm from the Garden of England, as it's called, because we do all the farming
You're
there.
from the New Jersey of England.
No, I'm not. No.
Jersey is the New Jersey, excuse me, is the Garden State.
No, it's not even close.
It's the garden of
Yeah, but it's not a garden state. The Garden of England.
from the New Jersey of
Unbelievable. I'm going to submit this to the police as evidence of, like, abuse.
My throat is whistling at me.
Maybe you need to have a drink.
No, I've had a lot.
Yeah, she's been drinking all day.
Not alcohol. I don't drink alcohol. I had a sparkling water and half of a lemon and lime water just during this podcast.
Right, so Big Mikey P has just said something scandalous here, and I'm going to read it out.
What did you say?
He says, can understand why people like Luke don't understand Shakespeare. I understand Shakespeare, I just don't care. Unbelievable.
Well, you seem like you took that to heart.
It's,
I think Michael was joking.
I don't think he is.
I don't really have a lot to say because I think you understand. I mean, obviously, I know you understand Shakespeare. It's just sometimes other people think they understand Shakespeare, but then they just completely just copy. And they're like, oh, this is my rendition of.
Well, he's about to mention some similarities there, actually. In contrast, he may more likely love Shakespeare-esque, like Akira Kurosawa's Kagemusha and Ran, basically amazing Japanese film remakes of the Scottish play, that's Macbeth, and King Lear, respectively. No. And works with Shakespeare influences like Greg Weisman's Gargoyles. No. Do we need to ask beyond having Titania, yeah, Oberon and the eponymous Scottish play guy and so on and so forth.
Aluminium.
And J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth literature, really the Ents plus Merry and Eowyn versus the Witch King are basically fix on certain Scottish play moments he didn't actually take. So that calling Macbeth the Scottish play is a superstition only for actors who are going to perform in it. Normal people, I use that term loosely.
I was like, I have never been accused of such a thing.
Can say, Macbeth, don't worry, Big Mikey P, you're safe.
Maybe he's going to go... I've never heard that before. And I'm quite a big Shakespeare person.
You never heard that actors won't call it Macbeth, they'll say the Scottish play?
Well, I knew they'd call it something else, but I didn't know it was like the Scottish play.
Okay.
It was weird. When I like really like something, I don't really... The antics around it aren't the thing I'm interested in. I'm interested in like the actual story.
Fair enough. To continue Big Mikey P's comment, he says, apt pupil, a tale adapted from Stephen King's Different Seasons novella anthology. If anyone is curious, that's the same anthology that features Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, which became an immortal classic. The Lord of the Rings movie trilogy, particularly the extended editions, are really good, but they're not as definitive as the original literature. Heck, I'll even thank the Frieren anime manga for reviving my interest of Tolkien's Middle-earth because of similar vibes and nuances.
Can I tell Mikey P something?
No.
Luke's like, damn it, I have to edit this. I just want to tell you something. I just got the Gandalf Squishmallow, and I accidentally bought 2 Gandalf Fugglers, and that's all I really wanted to say.
Cool, I was just having a drink.
That's fine. I just wanted to tell him that I bought some cool stuff.
She's got lots of Gandalfs all over the place.
I really do. And I had a dog... Well, never mind. We'll talk about that later.
Oh, and the Hobbit, Mary's just opening a package she got from Amazon right next to the microphone. Knocking her drinks over, got no consideration for the listener.
I'm so sorry. The box was bothering me.
You should just put it behind you like I've put the package I received behind
the other thing I bought was behind... The other thing I ordered was behind me.
Okay. And the Hobbit trilogy of movies aren't bad and does have some moments. It's just not as faithful to the source material in strange ways, not too prevalent in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Mary is kind of right. One should check out the Hobbit novel before the Lord of the Rings novels, excuse me, and later on before the Unreal Silmarillion and so many other stuff like the Unfinished Tales and the Adventures of Tom Bombadil. The movies, however, are a different story. Say what anyone will about the X-Men movies, they're quite rewatch worthy to me when compared to whatever campiness staring at the animated series, and sometimes incompleteness looking at Wolverine and the X-Men the cartoons have. Helps that Magneto there works like an actual villain / anti-hero in contrast to the animated depiction pre-97. Can argue that The Last Stand has become redeemed because of the mess that is Dark Phoenix. Still can see why the first two movies and also First Class and Days of Future Past are better. Oh dang, Coronation Street just had to be longer than Doctor Who. Yeah, I mean there's like thousands of episodes, so don't start a rewatch, Big Mikey P, you'll be there forever. And they add more. I think it's on 3 times a week. I think maybe twice. Anyway, it's on several times a week. 45 minutes and 22 seconds, I'll say the same. Should compensate for Spider-Man's Far From Home letting us down with a Mysterio who is never an isekai heroic iteration. 55 minutes and 40 seconds, already finished Labyrinth of Evil and Dark Lord The Rise of Darth Vader. Am at Skywalkers and Lone Wolf. Also, Nelvan is a shout out to animation studio Nelvana. Okay. Oh, I see, because they've just moved one of the letters around. Got it. What's more interesting is that in Labyrinth of Evil, Count Dooku actually fled from Tithe to Nelvan's orbit before joining General Grievous in the Battle of Coruscant. And alas, I didn't actually watch anything Girls and Panzer or Anne of Green Gables 1978 related for this totally Schway week. Unbelievable. Hand in your badge and gun immediately. 58 minutes and 54 seconds, Revenge of the Sith novelization, not The Rise of Skywalker. Thank you. 59 minutes and 6 seconds. There are Marvel published omnibuses of the Dark Horse Legends stuff, classic newspaper, and also the vintage Marvel 1977 comics. Meanwhile, there's the Essential Legends collections for the novels. Although I take shade on why non-essentials like the controversial Revan novels and Dawn of the Jedi and Knight Errant novel tie-ins to side story comics of the same name are included in said collection. 59 minutes and 48 seconds. Actually, Star Wars doesn't have Planeswalker operatives, unless one counts the Celestial Guardian entities titled the Mortis Gods, the Father, Son and Daughter. Long story about them, especially with their connections to the Bedlam Spirits, Abeloth, Wutzek, the Gree and Qua, the Rakatans and so on. I still remember the forest fire. Aren't gender reveals nowadays deemed partially outdated, especially with the non-binary and trans community in mind? Cad Bane is not Cade Bane, Luke. Anyways, nice to see a fellow who isn't simping to Dave Filoni. And being like Mary on the upcoming Superman, we'll try to watch it without seeing the trailers too much. Oh well, at least there's not. At least the next one's not about William Shatner. Anyway, why not Christopher Lee? We could do one on Christopher Lee. I'd probably do one Christopher Lee's horror movies through Hammer Horror, though.
Yeah.
His Dracula was excellent, and I quite liked his Frankenstein's monster too.
It also gives me a chance to rewatch some of them because I had a lot of those Hammer horror movies. I didn't even realize it was like a whole big, so popular thing. I haven't watched since I was like an early teenager.
You got me one that I'd never seen before. I can't remember the title now, but it was basically, I think it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde, something like that. Which I've never seen before, and I haven't actually watched it, I must admit, because it's on a disc, and I'd have to find something to play it on, because most of our devices are discless now, aren't they? Disc trailers, I should say. But yes, I thought that was quite forward-thinking for a 60s or 70s movie.
I saw somebody, I think it was Urban Outfitters, selling a boombox. You know, like a CD boombox.
Mm-hmm.
$100.
Uh-huh.
I think I when I bought my boombox, it was like a green boombox, CD and cassette player, $25 or something like that. Inflation.
All right. Well, thank you for your comment, Big Mikey P. It was slightly shorter than usual, so I really appreciate that. Yeah. Next we have Ryan Jones, who says my favourite Ian McKellen movie is the first X-Men movie. I do have patience to build the Gotham City skyline set surprisingly, Luke. Well, I don't think that's surprising at all, Ryan. You're very clearly very passionate about it.
Yeah.
And he's actually edited his comment saying, I have finished building my Batman Gotham City skyline set. It looks great. I have recently watched Toy Story, one of my favourite childhood movies. What is your opinion on Lilo and Stitch? I don't have a strong opinion on Lilo and Stitch.
I've never seen it.
Weirdly, super popular in Japan. I remember when I went to Japan in, was it 2007 when I went the first time?
Because you mentioned something like that.
Yeah, they had a load of Lilo and Stitch merch everywhere. And I was like, didn't this movie come out a long time ago? And they're like, yeah, it's so popular.
I've never seen it, but I think the little Stitch guy is pretty cute. I mean, I like this, without I know a lot about the story, but I like the fact that it is quite true to the Hawaiian life, and the fact that it's cute little aliens, kind of cool.
Yeah,
I have nothing bad to say about it.
No, me neither. But yeah, thank you for your comment. Let's go on to the next one, who's from Doc Widener, who says, thank goodness you're here. I have had enough change this week. Thank you very much. Back to hello. More on change in a moment. Luke, I think you are accommodating the wrong people by turning the dubbing off. You're providing a service. A, for folks that do want to hear you in Hindi, and B, for people who need to figure out how to configure YouTube. Maybe,
exactly, that's what I'm saying about.
But maybe I'm just being too snippy myself. So I didn't just listen to like the 5 or 6 people that immediately left comments complaining about it. I did a quick Google search on it, and the top results were overwhelmingly negative. Like, there are massive threads on Reddit about how much they hate it, how it's on by default on every video that has it. They can't just opt out of it as a setting in YouTube, and they should be able to.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if more people, instead of like you turning it off, what YouTube should do is just create a setting in your account and just have it turned off.
Well, yes.
It would be that simple.
That is
and then
the way it should be done.
Would have a really great... They would be able to watch so many more videos and actually in the language that they speak, rather than having to rely on, like I do when I'm watching something in Spanish.
I think perhaps if they could auto-generate subtitles in other languages.
Yeah,
I know they can.
I was thinking about that.
I know they can, but I don't think they do that at the moment, which is a pain. But anyway.
YouTube, please, subtitles in other languages and a button to turn the dubs off if you don't want them.
Yeah, or just in your profile, just say,
love you, by the way.
Never dub.
Miss you.
Anyway, to continue the comment, it's Doc Widener says, it has been a week. Physically, as far as I know, fine. Sending you guys pics, and yes, he did send us photographs, yes. I had a 2012 Hyundai accident that we bought right after Daniel was born in 2011, because Shari's first new car she bought, a 1998 Saturn, had died. Well, a few weeks ago, the Hyundai threw a rod in the engine, and I was going back and forth about what to do. It would be several $1,000s for the engine, not to mention labour, to install it. And I have a new or rebuilt engine, but I have a 14-year-old transition fuel pump, radiator, suspension, etc., with 150,000 miles on it. So I was mostly using Sergey's. I was mostly using Sergey's. Mine, I bought it, paid for it, insured it, have the title. 2014 Mini Cooper to commute. This would not have happened if I didn't have to drive to work with people remotely.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyhow, getting on the highway at about 6 a.m, I'm on the ramp heading down, looking for a gap in the traffic to merge, and look back to see a small deer in front of me. If I veer to the right to avoid it, I will smash into the guardrail and likely make the deer out the way of me into the traffic, or move the deer into the traffic, which is going at 70 or so miles per hour. If I veer left, I go into the traffic and hit one or more vehicles that may hit one or more vehicles. So left with the choice, I hit the brakes, but it was too late. I think it was quick for the deer. The Mini's suffering was a bit longer. Airbag deployed. I am tall with long arms, so it didn't even touch the airbag. Horn blared for at least 10 minutes. Radiator drained out. At least $10,000 to fix it, which is more than we paid for it in 2020.
Yeah.
Part of my deal on what to do with the other car was the Mrs. Aunt, who I had to take to the hospital months ago, has moved into an assisted living facility, and I asked her kids if they needed her car, or would they be interested in selling it to me. They were going to let me have it, but the one who lived closest keeps dragging her feet. When this happened and I told her, hey, I am down to one vehicle and need a second, she said her car had been having issues and she is falling back to her mum's car. I jokingly told her I'd called dibs, but I can't. I just wish she had said no instead of slow walking the process, because I likely would have started looking for another car. Not really looking forward to a car payment, but not a lot of choices. However, the rest of this comment is cheery and related to Sir Ian.
By the way, just want to say I'm so happy that you were okay, and it's unfortunate about the deer.
Yeah.
But you are okay, and other people are okay as well because of your decision making in that instant.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so happy you're okay.
Making pancakes before Sergey and I head out for car shopping. I may have found something yesterday, but I want to check a bit more and line up the financing with our credit union. Luke, you should watch more Gargoyles. I'll let you know. I tell you, I watched all of it up until they changed the title, and it was just Goliath on a gondola in the fog for like 20 episodes in a row. I got through about 5 of them and I just had enough. Couldn't be bothered watching it anymore. Maybe even try talking about it from time to time. I just did. I know that there's
a little bit more intense.
I know. What more do you need to know? Goliath is lost on a gondola in the fog and somehow finds himself in different countries within a few minutes of heading off into the fog in a different direction. Like, oh, I'm in Japan. Oh, now I'm in Italy. Oh, what's this weird? Anyway.
I don't remember that part.
It's like the last season. It's bad. It really dragged.
I think I watched a few episodes of it, and I didn't hate it, which said a lot about kids shows back then.
Mm-hmm. I know there is some creative overlap between it and the DCAU. Yes, it would be Michael Reeves, and people like Frank Parr, and I think Brad Rader worked on it as well.
Yeah. I love Brad.
You might get more of an appreciation of Shakespeare. I'm afraid I did not. The Mrs. Grad School roommate visited us in DC when Fellowship of the Ring came out. At some point during the film, the Mrs., who was humouring us, blurted out, "They are still in the Shire!" The guy in front of us whirled around and shot her the dirtiest look. She described the film to us as a 3-hour movie about returning bad jewellery. I've seen my copy of Fellowship of the Ring in our bathroom. I think she's trying to make her way through it. Mary mentioned studio interference with X3. I saw an interview with Tony Gilroy, showrunner of Six. He said Lucasfilm and Disney let him do what he wanted with almost no interference. Lucasfilm would answer continuity questions. Disney had them reword Marva's funeral speech to change F the Empire to Fight the Empire. Some co-workers have kind of convinced me to watch The White Lotus. I've been powering through that. When the boys ask me what I'm watching, I say Ocean Show, or The Ocean Show. Why? Because I'm usually rooting for the ocean to win. So far, it's only claimed one victim. Halfway through season 3. There are only a handful of likeable characters I guess folks like to hate watch. Won't rewatch, but the completionist in me will get through it.
I have thought about watching that, but I'm not sure if I don't think it would be my sort of thing, but then again, I've said that before and then end up loving something, but I don't know. I might watch it.
I think Big Mikey P writes his comments for me. I was following it, at least the Star Wars portion, not always agreeing. That would be boring. Mm-hmm. Given the constraints of 3 episodes per year co-credits, I thought the Gorman arc was brilliantly told. They also fixed the conflict between Legends and Tarkin's incident and the incident as described in Rebels. And they did it in a way to respect both stories, not fiddling too much with the timeline. As for the gender reveal, it is going to be a boy.
Oh, nice.
It wasn't too big of things, a few fireworks and explosions of blue paper that took them a while to clean up. I do at least try to squeeze in a few comments about the topic at hand around my weekly therapy event.
Do you guys remember snakes?
What, like the firework snake
things,
where it was just like ash that came out?
I love those things so much.
Mm. Enjoyed our brunching past the birthday wishes to Sergey. Daniel's birthday is actually going to be the day before you read this, June 13th.
Happy belated birthday!
He was a Monday the 13th, so he only ever gets Friday the 13th every now and then. Just saw a video of Sir Patrick trying to do the intro to The Next Generation with a French accent. Audio quality is bad, but still funny, especially when Garrett Wang, who played the longest-serving ensign in Starfleet, Harry Kim on Voyager, takes his cell phone out to start recording. Okay, off to look at cast. And yes, you shared that video with us, didn't you?
Yeah.
And Mary was like, what is this?
Just so... It's so awful when you get into an accident and it's like somebody you like. I know that sounds terrible, but when Luke was like showing me the pictures of whatever, I was like, and he told me it was Doc beforehand. I felt so awful, but I'm gonna be honest with you. If he would have shown me those pictures and say it was my third cousin from Poto, I'd be like, were they mudding? Like that's what would come out of my mouth, not like heartbreak when I heard that you got into an accident. So that shows that I care.
All right, on to the next comment. We've only got a few left now. So it's David Carney who says, "Hi, Mary and Luke.
Hola.
First, happy belated birthday, Mary.
Thank you.
And second, I really enjoyed watching Sir Ian McKellen in The Lord of the Rings. Would love to see him play Alfred in a Batman movie.
Yes.
It would be a different spin on the character. One of the greatest actors. Have a good week, everyone."
What about, just hear me out, Ian McKellen as Batman and and Rage.
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah. Just
Ian McKellen's Ra's al Ghul.
He just switches in between.
Yeah.
No, I think he would make great Alfred.
Yeah, probably would.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have RJ Productions, who says, "Hi, Luke and Mary. This is a random comment, but do either of you remember when Postman Pat the movie was a thing?" No, I don't.
I had no idea who Postman Pat was until my niece moved over here in 2010.
Yeah, I think it was.
I had no idea. And just like with Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, if I ever hear that song again, I will get angry. And not angry as in like, oh, I'm just like, no.
Well, Harry continues by saying, "I have nostalgic memories for the movie and I cackle every time I listen to Ronan Keating's song With You, and also Really Happy Postman, as they feel laughably out of place in anything Postman Pat related. Also, if anyone who's seen the film, do you guys remember when towards the end the writers forgot that they were making a movie made for toddlers and had an overly intense climax where the postman Pat Bots cornered Pat, the Simon Cowell parody, and the forgettable character with the most generic name ever conceived in storytelling? Not to mention it even had a weirdly intense slasher-like score which was bordering on horror territory, though I guess 3C films could find some enjoyment in the red light in that climax. Although it was a weird and laughably so bad it's good movie, and I remember genuinely having fun at the ridiculousness of Postman Pat movie featuring an X Factor parody and a weird Postman Pat robots taking over Greendale."
So just because something has a super, and I say this with love, like it's annoying to me, but to little kids, I get it. They're just learning things and all of that. But when you hear that song and they've got like a little iPad or something, and then they just like play it over and over and over and over again. It's like, wow, I know the words to Postman Pat and Hot Dog. And here's the kicker. The actual stuff in the show itself isn't annoying. It's actually quite cool because it's like in educational and stuff like that. But the theme songs, get out of town.
And to continue and conclude the comment, Harry says, "I hope you two are having a great week, and I always love listening to your podcasts and watching you guys' videos. I edited my comment, so it looks like Mary's going to have to re-heart it. Thanks for that, by the way, Mary. It's so annoying when that happens. Also to Mary, I'm glad you admire the ability to..." I'm not sure what word he's written here, but I think it's a autocorrect typo thing. I think he's saying split or differentiate art from the artist. When I discussed it with others before, they usually call me apathetic or rude. It goes to show, it's good to know that I'm not a complete sociopath. Lol. Honestly, I'm just tired of seeing the cancel culture drama from people accusing each other every day when I just don't care anymore. In the words of Arthur Fleck, everyone just yells and screams at each other. Is it just me or is it getting crazier out there?
I think it was recently that I watched something on YouTube about the canceling of so many stars and people that we grew up watching, and it was devastating. And I think I've mentioned this. I love the Cosby Show. It was one of those shows where when it was on, I just loved it because it was wholesome, but it was also meaningful. And a lot of the topics were topics that I would have never known about unless it were for that show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've said recently as well, like, I can't go back and watch that show. But the person that was talking about cancel culture in this video said that you do not have to like that person anymore if you grew up with something. But it's the power of the other things that got you to like that show. So watch it. I love the fact that people can do that. But I think it's my like neurodivergent thing where I obsess over certain things, like, and a lot of the times it's negative things people have done. And even though I can't like watch those things, I still feel like they were incredible shows. And I really, really hope that one day that my therapist and I can talk about this more.
Yeah, so
looks like this is so long.
I just want to get on to the last comment now. There's the last comment from Julia Rowell.
Hello.
Who says, "Hey Mary Sue Wilson and tired Luke Wilson, it's me, Julia, your humble guide to Earth 616. And I want to say that I really like Ian McKellen. To me, he will always be Magneto from the X-Men movies. I first found him when in the 2000s X-Men movie as a trans egg who had not hatched yet in the early 2000s.
The best kind of eggs are the LGBTQI plus eggs. I do say so myself.
I didn't know he was gay into the late 2000s. I really like how Ian and Patrick Stewart became BFFs. And I will always see them as Xavier and Magneto. To me, they felt like best friends who still care about each other despite being enemies with opposing ideas about humans and mutants coexisting. I still have a soft spot for the first two movies because of how Ian and Patrick Stewart enhanced two characters I really liked from the 92 cartoon and the Claremont comics. I know I'm fangirling about X-Men stuff, but those two actors did right by my favourite X-Men characters. I don't watch him on Lord of the Rings movies, but I am aware that Christopher Lee is in those movies. Can I hear something funny? I do share a birthday with Patrick Stewart on July 13th. So it's your birthday as well? No, wait a minute, that's June 13th that's just happened. It's a month from then, yes. Sorry, I don't know how dates work. Their birthday is July 13th.
Okay, I was about to say, another Gemini in the house.
I think that it's very cool because I share birthday with Professor Charles Xavier. Lol.
I think that's cool.
I have a soft spot for character actors with Shakespearean backgrounds like Raoul Julia, my favourite, M. Bison. Mm-hmm. I do like how Ian McKellen's Magneto was very catty and very BFF with Mystique, but that's me. Yes, the line we didn't mention in that podcast was when they look at Rogue and say, "We love what you've done with your hair."
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Even though I would like to think of the movie version of Xavier's Magneto's grandpa, except Xavier's grandpa Xavier and Magneto's catty grandpa Magneto. Anyway, it's nice to hear your spirits is meeting the master of magnetism at his one-man show. So until next time, true believers, happy Pride Month and Excelsior. Is it fair to call Magneto a queer icon, because he's played by Ian McKellen in the X-Men movies? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, definitely. Even before then, I would say.
And yes, Big Mikey P, I do enjoy the 20th. I think that the 2017 Battlefront game is not bad, and I haven't played Bounty Hunter, and I haven't read all that other stuff you suggested. So don't get mad at me, Mikey P. I like space pirates. They're fun characters. I'm not interested in reading a bunch of novels. I mainly stick to comics and shows. I'm not interested in playing older games. Anyway, until next time, Luke Wilson and Mary Sue Wilson, happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month. But happy Pride Month. I love you guys, and I could have saved all of that for the next episode, which is about Pride. Which we will probably talk about Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart some more. But I also want to talk about some of the Pride covers and stuff like that as well, and some of the comics, and yeah.
And can I do a cheeky little plug? By the time this podcast is aired, I'll have released a video talking about Kevin Conroy's Finding Batman comic, which was published in DC's second Pride special, published in 2022. It's over on my Serum Lakes Comics channel. So, go watch that if you haven't already. It is a little sad, but I think it's an important thing to talk about.
It's very important. All right, I love you guys. And if you actually did make it here, sorry, I'm so talkative today.
Yeah, and you have to write at the end of your comment the number 663.
Oh, and tell me, RC Cola or Mr. Pibb?
Yeah, okay. Forget what I said about the number. Let's go with the important thing, RC Cola or Mr. Pibb.
Yeah. Love you, bye.